Back in the edit page, let's turn this to a green marker because we're done with that light. And we're going to go to the next shot. Now this next shot, this next shot is what we refer to in the business as a doozy. Whew. Here's why. Let's go ahead and go into Fusion. And you might notice if you page through this a little bit, there's a couple things happening. One is part of this would probably be pretty easy to track. But then we do stuff like have the light go behind stuff. It goes back in our hair. It gets moved around in all kinds of angles. And it's just generally very challenging to track. So here's how I tackled this. And I'm not going to make you do all of this because frankly, it's miserable and we're here to have fun. But I will show you how I did this. So the first thing is working basically the same way. It's making a tracker. And with our tracker selected, let's grab this. And we're going to move to a frame that is on one side of this kind of craziness here and select a part with high contrast and adjust our search area. And we can track backwards. And it will sort of work for part of this. And that is really good. And then it kind of jumps around. And so you can go through and fix it and try that track again. And you kind of go through until you can get it to track decently. And you basically go through and retrack and remove and go in here and adjust each frame as good as you can over and over and over until you have a good animation here. And for the end of it, same thing. Let's track forward. And it just absolutely loses its mind. And then we get to go through and adjust all the keyframes anytime that we see the light here. We can move that back, go to the next one, and you can see how miserable this is. So this was me yesterday getting ready for this lesson the whole long time. If you do it like this, it will turn out worse because a tracker is pretty accurate in sticking to the same place, whereas we can kind of decide it's a different place every frame and it kind of jiggles around and it's miserable. So it's quite a doozy to go through and do all this. But the idea is that you get a good track. You go through and make it so, oh man, it's just beautiful. And then you connect the red light here to the tracker. Make sure to hit match move under operation. Make a transform node and scale and move this down so that it's on top of our light here to where it sticks. Add a mask, soften it. And anytime that you have problems, you could also keyframe this transform node. So if this is kind of moving around how it shouldn't be, if there's a problem with the track, you can either move the track or you can also do something like keyframe this center on our transform and move this back to where it's supposed to be and kind of make sure that things line up decently. So the good news is that I've already done all this work and I'm going to use this opportunity to teach you something else. So what we're going to do is just get rid of all of these nodes. And we're going to bring in some nodes that we've saved out. Here's how this works. Let's open our Explorer or Finder window and go to our work files under projects. And there should be a .setting file called light track. And the cool thing about this type of .setting file anyway in Fusion is you can grab it and just drag it into your flow here. Check this out. Take this and just drag it in and look what happens. It actually makes nodes because we've saved those out. And we're going to take those nodes and put them in between our media in and media out. So I'll disconnect our media out and connect this to the tracker, take our merge one and bring it into our media out. And now this is almost right because sometimes when you do this, the media in doesn't connect. So what we'll do is grab this red light.tiff and drag it down here and hold shift and put it on top of this media in. It's going to say, do you want to replace this? And I say yes. And now it should add that TIFF file. And this doesn't look that great because we need to load our LUT. So we'll take this drop down menu just like before, Blackmagic Design, Blackmagic Pocket 6K Film to Video V4, and there we go. So now we have, look at this, a pretty good version of this track with everything all connected, our lights working, and you don't have to do any of that. Isn't that so great? If you want to, there's extra credit points. Because you know what, we didn't do this perfectly. You could actually see this light if it went on the other side. This probably needs a little bit more work, but you know what? You get the idea, right? You get the idea. And again, if you were to page through this, it's not perfect. But guess what? When you play this back, it looks pretty good. And that's what we're after. It's actually amazing the type of VFX you can get away with and have them not be perfect, but they still work and nobody really notices. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't try, that you shouldn't do a good job, but taking 2 hours to make the light completely like occlude behind her hair and everything is just maybe more work than it's worth. You might not think so. Feel free to slog through this yourself. But you can open up the nodes and see exactly what's happening. Again, if we were to rename this, this would be red light track transform. This would be our red light. This would be our red light ellipse. This would be our red glow background, red glow merge, red glow ellipse. And now we know what's going on. It's pretty much the exact same thing as the previous shot. So let's switch back to the edit page. Now we have two shots done here, looking pretty good. The other thing that we'll do is the teleport effect, which we're not going to worry about right now. We're going to do that in a little bit. Let's keep working on the lights. So we have this light shot and this light shot. We also have this one right here where she opens up the case. So let's switch to Fusion here, and we're going to do kind of the same thing. The only difference is that we have this case in front of it right here. So we'll learn a little bit of keyframing. So let's go ahead and start this track at frame 875. This is 2 frames into the shot. We'll select media in, shift spacebar, tracker. And again, let's just pick a place that's pretty high contrast. This little divot here works. And we'll track forward from current time. And that does a really good job. Stuck there perfectly. Good work. And we're not even going to worry about the beginning of this track because what we're actually going to do is turn this light off until we can see it when the lid of the case moves out of the way here. Okay, so our tracker is done. Let's take our red light down and connect that to our tracker. Select our tracker and go over to operation. Under none, let's switch to match move. And again, let's select this merge and we'll do XF for transform. And we'll scale this down, move it over here, rotate it. And we're going to just put that right there on top of the light. Switch our tracker, apply mode to screen. Make sure our LUT is on. Blackmagic Design, 6K video. Take our media in 2, which is our red light. We should probably rename stuff. Red light MI. This tracker is going to be red light track. This one's going to be original footage. We're going to add our ellipse to the red light media in and soften it out quite a bit. And here in our red light track, go over to settings and turn the blend down until it's tasteful. Something like that. That should stick pretty well. Should do a pretty good job. Maybe we'll take this transform and move it down a little bit. Does a pretty good job. Again, it's not a perfect track. It does slip and slide a little bit, but it's not going to be that noticeable. It's going to work just fine. There we go. Great. And now what we're going to do, we have our blend set. We're going to actually turn this light completely off here when it goes behind the top of the box. So I'm going to page back here. So we should have it off here, and it should be on here in frame 875. Let's go over to blend right here in the inspector, and we'll click this keyframe diamond. That's going to say at frame 875, I want this blend to be at 0.535. Now we're going to move 1 frame over, just like we did with the gunshot. So this is frame 874, and just turn the blend all the way down. So now the first frame that we're actually able to see the light, it shows up, giving you the illusion that it's behind this thing. It's good, right? I feel like it's good. Boom. Pretty good. All right, let's add our little glow here. We'll do the same thing. Add a background node. Let's make it red. Merge it over our track. Add an ellipse. Bring that ellipse down and soften it quite a bit. In our merge, we're going to turn our apply mode to screen. And for our center in our merge, we're going to right click, say connect to red light track, unsteady position. And we're going to switch back to our ellipse right here and just move our ellipse up here like that. So now that should stick to it. Oh, baby, it's working. Look at that. We probably just need to take the blend down here in the merge. So I'll select the merge, go up here to our inspector, and we'll just, again, dial all the way down and then push it up so it's tasteful, you know? And that's pretty much our effect right there. We do have our red going over our box here, something probably no one would notice, but let's be good. We'll keyframe this blend as well. So in merge 1, which again should be renamed red glow MRG, red glow background, red glow ellipse. We'll take our red glow merge, and this blend, we'll have it 0.504 right here, and then 1 frame to the left, we'll have it completely off. So now it should work smoothly. Let's see. Yeah, buddy. Now this does slip a little bit, which is bothering me. So let's take a look at why it's doing that. We go through this sort of fast. We have this moving up a little bit here. Let's see if we can maybe just change that a little bit. Let's grab our transform here. And we're just going to animate our transform to kind of deal with this a little bit. So we're going to figure out where this kind of has a little bit of an issue. I think it's right here where this kind of rolls away from the camera. We have this foreground moving faster than the background, and this should actually be kind of more in the background. So what we're going to do is right here, when it just about stops moving, we're going to grab our center, keyframe that. Then we're going to go here a couple frames this way to where it stops moving down. This is frame 883, and keyframe that. And I think on our second keyframe, we're just going to move this down just a touch, something like that, and see if that helps. One thing we can look at is this little bright part right here is above this sort of circle part. And if we move this over to this next keyframe, we need to bring this down so that bright part's above the circle part. Same thing. Let's see if that helps a little bit. It's definitely a little better. So let's zoom this out, see how it looks. I'd say that works just a little better. Easy little fix. Again, not perfect, but it'll work. So there's our light. Sick. Let's go back to the edit page.